Hello everyone, in this tutorial we are going to create a gas explosion with two emitters. Before starting to create the explosion, it is advisable to use a geometry that we can use as a reference to control the scale of the explosion, for example a character or a building. A good option is to use the Rigify add-on. The first thing to do to generate an explosion is to create a group of emitters. Then we add the first emitter. This will be of type cones. In the shape section we adjust the values to get the shape and size we are interested in. In the animation section we set the start at frame 10 and keep the duration. We set the random duration max to 3 to add some randomness to the duration of each cone. We will also adjust the animation curve to make it faster at the beginning. We create the second emitter. This one will be of type icosphere. To work more comfortably we can hide the other emitter. We adjust its parameters to make it a simple mesh and add more noise. In the animation section we adjust the start one frame after the previous one, in our case it will be frame 11. To animate the noise and make the explosion more chaotic we activate Animate Noses, and set Fade Animation to 0.10 so that it changes shape every frame. We check the animation and make the necessary adjustments until we reach the desired result. Switch to the Flow Emitters module, select the cones in the list of emitters and click on Add Flow. Set flow type to smoke. Volume emission to 1 and source to 0.1. Then select the other emitter and click on the Add Flow button. Set flow type to fire, volume emission to 1 and source to 2. We will also add a force in X and Z to control the speed and direction of the explosion. Even if the type is set to fire only, smoke will be generated once the flame has burned out. In the Domain module, click on Add Domain and select the group of emitters that it will contain. Preview the explosion by pressing the play button and adjust the domain size to cover the whole explosion. We set the resolution to 64, this is a good value to make adjustments and check results quickly, later we will change it to higher. Hide the emitter group in the 3D view and set the duration of the timeline to 100. In collision we deactivate bottom so that it does not generate a smoke column. In the gas section we set buoyancy heat to 2 to make the smoke rise faster. In the fire section we increase flame smoke to 3 and set vorticity to 0.1. Once we have the main shape defined we move on to add more detail and break up the mushrooms that have formed. We assign a folder to store the cache files. This is also a good moment to save our scene if we haven't done it before. We change the cache type of the simulation to all and set the end to 100. Set resolution to 128 and do a bake to get a reference of the explosion. Click on Display and set thickness to 3 to better appreciate the details in the 3D view. We are going to add the forces to break the main mushrooms but without losing the shape of the explosion. Click on the Forces module and add a group. Next we add a texture type force. Set strength to 2, nabla to 0.6, power to 3 in Z direction to +Z. Click on the New button to create the texture. Click on the Show Texture button and choose a texture of type Cloud, noise basis set to original Perlin in color and a size of 0.25. We animate the force so that it follows the mushroom generated by the explosion. We try to place it in the lower half. We bake again and check the shapes that are generated. We make adjustments to the texture until we find the desired shape. We repeat the process to add another equal force with the strength, power and size values of the texture reduced by half. This way we add more detail to the explosion. We adjust its position so that it is close to the previous one, and then we match it to it. Note that these values are not fixed parameters for all explosions, they will depend on the type of explosion, the scale, and the effect you want to achieve. It is normal to spend more time on this process to give detail to the explosion. We bake again, check the explosion and make the necessary adjustments to obtain the desired results. To check the result of the explosion in real time, we can use the flipbook tool found in the rendering module. The path to the files must be set in the add-on in the Blender properties. It's time to make a higher quality bake. We increase resolution to 196 and activate noise by setting strength to 0.5. In the shading module we will make some adjustments, although the default settings are great for most cases. The ideal is always to work with a mix between fire and blackbody. We activate viewport shading to see the changes in the 3D view. In the blackbody section we set the intensity to 500 to have some detail in the initial fire, and in the smoke section we set the density to 150. Feel free to adjust these parameters to your liking. The VDBLab shader allows you total freedom to get the result you want. In the World section click on Add VDBLab World and select an HDRI image to light our explosion. Click on the rendering module. In the render section, select high quality in the quick presets section. You can make other settings such as the output format, the path of your files, or create a custom preset if you wish. Render the animation and our explosion is finished. We hope you find this tutorial useful.